Today's show is brought to you by adamandeve.com.
And paintyourlife.com.
Go to adamandeve.com right now and you'll get 50% off just about any item.
And you get 20% off your painting plus free shipping at Paint Your Life.
All you have to do is enter the code word GLORY, GLORY, at checkout.
That one's specific for Adam and Eve. It's for paintyourlife.com. Text the word cognitive to 64,000.
Be advised that this show is not for children, the faint of heart, or the easily offended. The explicit tag is there for a reason.
Recording live from Glory Hole Studios in Chicago and beyond. This is Cognitive Dissonance. Every episode we blast anyone who gets in our way. We bring critical thinking, skepticism, and irreverence to any topic that makes the news, makes it big, or makes us mad. It's skeptical, it's political, and there is no welcome mat. This is episode 615 of Cognitive Dissonance. And Cecil,
yeah,
Russia has not yet invaded Ukraine. Please fucking hold, though.
Yeah, no, I mean, what I'm hoping is that there's some weird viral video that gets posted.
Jesus Christ.
That's like a fake, with like fake blood and actors pretending that there was some sort of drone strike.
Fucking hell, man.
And the smartest thing you could do is release that to the public, which is what happened today. Yep. The Pentagon released this comment that basically said Russia is planning on creating a fake video.
Yep.
That makes it look like all this stuff is happening. Best thing to do is get out in front of that. Because if you don't, then you're constantly being like, no, it's fake.
Yeah, well, it's so funny because there's a Times article that I read this morning that was really, this is a new strategy. So what Biden's administration is doing is they are leaking, well, not leaking, they are divulging what would otherwise be classified material, saying, hey, here's what Russia's going to do next.
Yeah.
And then that constantly puts Russia on their back foot. They can't do the next thing.
Yeah.
So as soon as they're finding something out, the UK is leaking stuff. So they said, hey, look, Russia plans to invade the Ukraine and install a puppet president. And here's who they're thinking about. So they're constantly sort of like finding this intelligence out. And the strategy is to then divulge to the world that intelligence.
Yeah.
And it's a really interesting tactic. And there's some analysts who are saying, well, that's just backing Putin into a corner. That's all you're doing is you're constantly, but I don't see that at all. You're calling that shit out to take that card out of his hand.
I think it's a great strategy. You know, like what we've been doing for the past several years. I mean, I have no idea what was happening under Trump because everything was so tight-lipped. So you don't know. But we felt like we were buffoons on the world stage with all the stuff that was happening with Russia. I mean, they were utilizing Facebook to manipulate things, and you know, they were using troll farms to manipulate things.
Yep.
I mean, these are all proven things. Yep. Now, what isn't proven is how well they work. Right? That's not a thing that we can measure. But you know, all these people that go on and the TV and like Glenn Greenwald who call it like a Russia hoax or whatever. It's like, it's not a Russia. I mean, these are all proven things that happen.
Yeah, there's a propaganda war.
It's just not like whether or not it's super effective. That can be debated.
Right.
But whether or not it happened can't.
But you know, it's funny because if you're watching Tucker Carlson right now, the guy comes off right now like a fucking paid Russian stooge.
Paid Russian, absolutely.
He totally comes off that way. And I don't think that he is a paid Russian stooge. What I think is he's an unpaid Russian stooge.
Yeah, I think the
propaganda worked on him.
Or he is so anti-Biden that he'll literally side with anyone else. Right?
Yeah, that's true too.
He's anti-Democrat so hard that it doesn't matter who the other side is. It's like, if there's a leopard on the other side, he's like, yeah, I'm with the leopard. Like I'm 100% leopard based now. And and that's what he'd do. He wouldn't do it. So, we're in a weird position because, you know, for years we've been losing this battle.
Oh my God, yeah.
And I wonder if this might be the way that, you know, you got to get people in front of that stuff. And if the way they say you get in front of it is to leak this stuff. And the plan was, I mean, I want to elaborate on this plan because they had a plan to put a bunch of fake blood and use real corpses. So they were going to use real corpses, fake blood and real actors to pretend that they were mourning over people who were killed. They were going to use, the plan was to divulge this as if Ukraine had attacked Russian speakers behind Ukrainian border. They would then have this on the video that would be like, oh, look, they're killing these Russian speakers, which would then give them the sort of reason to invade, to be like, we've got to protect our people. Yep. And so that's what the whole plan was. And they basically just divulge it. Now, whether or not that's true, they just divulge it. And who knows? You know what I mean? Like, who knows how many back switches this is?
Yeah,
right?
That's absolutely the case.
Yeah.
What we know with certainty, though, is that Russia for years has been waging a very aggressive propaganda war.
Yeah.
And this strikes me, and again, it's all it is, but it strikes me as entirely possible.
Yeah.
And entirely plausible.
Sure.
Right? And whether or not that propaganda has worked, I will say that the effect that propaganda would have achieved has been achieved.
Yeah.
You know, whether we did it to ourselves or they did it to us or we were all complicit in this shit together. But I love that the antidote to this is transparency.
Yeah, yeah.
The antidote to this is just to call it out, just point right at it, and say true things out loud.
Yeah.
You know, I worry so much, like when Trump was president, he fucking capitulated to Putin all the time, constantly was sucking that guy's dick. And he was the least transparent president I think we've ever had.
Yeah.
Biden, like him or love him or hate him, at least the transparency is there with this element.
Yeah.
And I think it's strategically valuable. You know, all they really have to do, and this is a really funny thing to say out loud, but it's so true. All they have to do is hold off on an invasion until spring.
Yeah, because in the mud.
Then
there's too much mud.
It cracks me up that in 2022, they're still foiled by mud.
They need hover tanks, Tom.
Right? Do we
have a hover tank? That's the key.
Foiled by mud.
Have a hover tank.
Don't tease me.
I'm not. I'm stating facts.
I'm not concerned with facts. Not if they interfere with my beliefs.
I give you prejudice in a nutshell.
Oh, stop talking to yourself and ring the bell. I'm going up to change.
I doubt it, Mama. I'd say you will come down again without having changed at all.
This story's from Huffington Post. Joe Rogan shares incorrect coronavirus story just 24 hours after apology.
This is what he shared. Rogan had tweeted this article from disclose.tv. Just in, Japan's co-op partnership with Kitasawa University and Tokyo Medical University says ivermectin is effective against Omicron in phase 3 trial. And Joe Rogan put, well, looky here. A few hours later, there was a correction from that thing that said it wasn't. You know, basically like, no.
Yep.
And then he deleted the tweet. And he didn't say anything. He just deleted it. There's no accountability for him. He just deletes it. He's like, oh, I don't want to look bad.
Yeah. Well, it's if anybody was wondering if there's any intellectual like integrity to Joe Rogan, there's just not. There's just not. And like there's no attempt to vet information. There's no attempt to say, hey, a correction came out and actually that correction is really important. And there's a difference between something that the way things are phrased, it's effective in a phase 3 trial. Wow, phase 3 trial sounds like it's being tested on people. But what we're talking about is whether or not ivermectin, the actual study is really talking about whether or not ivermectin has an antiviral effect in it, like a test tube.
Yeah.
Like we're not talking about whether or not it works.
Phase 3 trial does sound like it's people. It does sound like it's people.
Yeah, so it's all disingenuous bullshit, you know? And the desire for ivermectin to work for these guys is overshadowing whether or not it does work.
Yeah.
And the thing is, everybody wants it to work. I want it to work
too.
So I want to be like abundantly clear. It would be great. The more tools in our fucking anti-COVID toolbox, the better.
If hydroxychloroquine
right. Whatever. I don't care what it is that works. If it works, that's amazing. We should have as many things that work as possible. Because I don't want to get COVID and not have medicine that works.
I want to open it up like you know when you were a kid and you go fishing with some old guy and you'd open up this box and there'd be like 7,000 lures in there. That's what I want.
Yeah.
I want the doctor to open up and be like, here is my medicine chest full of COVID drugs.
Yes.
And I can choose one of these 100 million drugs that I could give you. But instead it's like what these people do is this is confirmation bias.
Yes.
Exactly, confirmation bias. Joe Rogan found this story because it confirms all his biases about ivermectin.
Yes.
He has been shown to be a buffoon by a bunch of people. They're like, no, ivermectin, that study, there's only like one study and that was pulled back and all this. And they keep showing him evidence after evidence after evidence.
Yep.
And all Joe wants to do is find the one thing that makes him not look as bad.
Yep.
And so he did. So he found something that he was like, yeah, somebody sent him that or somebody tagged him in that to be like, no, Joe, you're a real smart guy, Joe. Here, look.
You were right all along.
And then he fucking retweeted it. And then somebody else was like, hey, man, that's not what you think it is. And he's like, oh, shit, I better delete it. And I think another thing that feeds into this, not only is confirmation bias feed into this, there's also this fucking thing that happens with social media and being people who sometimes do share news stories on our feeds. The problem is the speed of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right? So we have turned what used to be, before social media was a 24-hour news day on Fox News and MSNBC or whatever, right? There was a 24-hour news cycle where you could probably turn the news on for half an hour and then you're done. You don't have to watch it again. They're repeating a lot of stories, et cetera, et cetera. But that was fast. That was fast on its own.
Yeah, that was problematic.
But the people who were speeding up that process were journalists.
Yep.
So they would get things wrong, but not as bad as you and I might get things wrong because we don't have any of the things that protect anybody out there from the things that we say. We don't have any repercussions for the things that we do. And so when we share something, there's no bad that can happen. The worst thing that happens is I look kind of stupid. I could just delete it like Joe Rogan did. Yep. And the speed of it is making it inaccurate, but then there's no repercussions if it is inaccurate.
Yeah, there's no, the thing is like, if you are inaccurate on social media, there's no memory at all for it at all. So there's no repercussions. There's no stake in whether or not you're right or wrong. It literally doesn't matter, except for that it matters so much. It matters not to you, but it matters because it clouds these issues. It confuses them. This thing matters. Like this Joe Rogan thing about ivermectin matters because it's changing what should be a scientific question into a political question. Yeah. It's turning, like there is an answer which is either true or false, right? Ivermectin either is effective against COVID
works or don't,
or it is not effective against COVID.
Yep.
But now you have camps that have set up on both sides and they are heels dug in. It does work. It doesn't work. And then when you ask them why, I believe, and they give you all the, none of that is how science works. None of that is how you determine whether things are true or not. But we're galvanized. We're constantly fucking galvanized. That's a problem. Like we're emotionally reactive. I'm sure that Joe tweeted this because he was emotional about it. Sure. He was excited. He was pleased because he'd been made fun of and now he gets to be vindicated. And that's a really human thing to feel.
Absolutely.
And I fucking get it. Like when I'm humiliated, if I get to be vindicated later, like that's a good feeling.
Sure.
And I sympathize with that feeling and I'm right there with him. The problem is that should never have been how these things get decided. It should never have been how these things get disseminated. But we're treating factual questions like a poll will answer whether or not they're true. Like, oh, vote for whether or not ivermectin works. Fuck you. That's what. Fuck you. Yeah. We don't vote for whether or not ivermectin works. Yeah. I don't care how many fucking thumbs up or likey hearts you get on something like that. It doesn't change. It's the fucking mask thing, man. Either from day one, there was only one thing. Either masks did work or they didn't work. For a while, it was an unsettled question. Then the question became settled. But like the reality had never changed.
Yeah.
The reality was always that they, from day one, they did work. We just didn't know it.
Yeah.
You know? So like the truth of the physical reality we live in it's not changing. But we're confusing whether or not things are real with whether or not we like them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a problem.
It's 100% the problem. And no Twitter poll is going to make a decision on whether or not something's real. Right. That's just, it's all it is just a unfiltered bias.
Yeah.
And so you're like, cool. That's just a bunch of people who like Joe Rogan and don't want him to be wrong.
Yeah. And the thing is, I
don't want him to be wrong either. I want him to be right. Understand.
Yeah.
I don't want Joe Rogan to be wrong about this.
Right.
Because I have some sort of deep-seated hatred for Joe Rogan. I want Joe Rogan to be right about it so that there's another tool, right? You said it earlier.
Yes.
Whether he's right or wrong doesn't affect me. What the problem is him being wrong is he's wrong to 10 million people.
Yes. Well, and the problem is that Joe Rogan says things and people decide that they believe those things, but Joe Rogan doesn't know how to understand right and wrong for scientific questions.
Yeah.
And he doesn't respect that process. And he doesn't know enough to ask the right questions.
You're
and it makes me fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And when Kermit the Frog sang, "It's not easy being green." You remember that one? I want you to know that he was wrong. He was wrong. It is easy. It's not only easy, it's lucrative and it's right to be green. He was also unnecessarily rude to Miss Piggy, I thought, Kermit the Frog.
This story comes from The Guardian. Fuck me. Fuck. Word salad of nonsense. Scientists denounce Jordan Peterson's comments on climate models. So recently, Kermit the Frog gave an interview.
Hi-ho, climate models here.
Casting aspersions and doubts on climate models with such zingers like, hey, can't predict
you can't predict the weather, so you can't predict climate models.
And just stay in your fucking lane.
Yeah.
Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
You want to write a book about how it's important that people fucking make their bed and clean their room? Hey man, you're a psychologist. You have every right of expertise to write that book. He legitimately does. He owns that expertise to write that book. But when you want to fucking opine on climate modeling, you have the same fucking expertise on that as I do about whether or not, what's the optimum depth for fucking rebar in building a fucking bridge.
Fucking A, man.
I don't know.
Sure, absolutely.
You don't either.
One of the people in this article say, anyone who has taken an introductory course to climate or atmospheric science would spot this problem. Errors in a weather forecast indeed accumulate such that after a couple weeks, the forecast is useless. Peterson's argument is saying that we can't predict whether a pot of water on a flame will boil because we can't decide in advance what variables to put on our model and can't predict each bubble, end quote.
Yes.
That's exactly it, right?
Perfect.
Like these people know what they're doing. And they understand climate way more than you. And you sitting around with your buddy on a show that reaches 11 million people, 10 million people every time it plays. Now, that's his numbers. I don't know how even if it's a million. Let's just say
call it a million. It's an enormous number of people
that listen to it, at least 40 minutes of it, let's say. Those people get to sit there and listen to Jordan Peterson, who doesn't know fuck all about this, but has a real stance on it, right? He's coming into it, again, we're talking about bias. He's coming into it with a deep bias against this because for him, it's money. Jordan Peterson was a nobody before. Jordan Peterson was a nobody writing a bunch of garbage. And what happened was Jordan Peterson latched on to right-wing ideals. And when Jordan Peterson latched on to right-wing ideals, he also did another really important thing. He made a Patreon account.
Yeah.
And he made a lot of goddamn money because people wanted to pay somebody who they thought was articulate, who they thought was smart, who was going to say the things that were in the echo chamber that they were in.
Well, yeah. And, Jordan Peterson is it's kind of funny because in this interview, he's doing the same shit Rogan does. He's a just asking questions guy. So he shows up to just ask questions about climate change and to have these if it doesn't work like this, how can it work like that? And it's just you're starting from the wrong starting point. You don't understand the base science that you're criticizing, but he sounds rational. The problem with a lot of these guys is because they don't respect the starting point and the foundational knowledge that you have to come to a subject with, they sound really fucking rational to some people.
Yeah.
Wow, it does make sense. Well, they do get the weather wrong. If they get the weather wrong, how can they get something bigger than the weather wrong? And it's like, well, actually, sometimes predicting macro events is easier than predicting micro events. I can predict, to your point before, but like, you can predict whether or not it's going to rain, and that's usually right. But you can't predict how the raindrops on your windshield are going to travel down the side of your windshield.
Sure. Yeah.
And exactly what that path will take. Predicting macro events in short term can be easy, or predicting macro events in the long term can be more accurate, because you're also not predicting like on this day at 4 o'clock in this fucking zip code, this tiny thing is going to happen. The more he's got it all backwards. The more specificity you require, the more difficult translating information often is.
And what climate scientists are saying is not something that is hyper specific. They're saying it's getting worse. It's going to keep getting worse.
Right.
Nothing is going to stop it from getting worse.
Right.
We already know it's getting worse. We already know that like when fucking icebergs are breaking off of Antarctica or whatever, floating in the middle of fucking like the ocean just being like, peace, and then they disappear. It's getting worse. It's not like we don't know it's getting worse.
You can see it. You go swimming in a coral reef and be like, what happened? Man, when I was a kid,
white.
Right. Everything was Jacques Cousteau fucking multicolored.
Yeah.
Now you go, it's like, I thought these were going to be more colorful than gray and white and green.
Sorry,
and blue.
they're all bleached out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also like predicting climate change, what they're saying is basically got 3 options, right? Climate change has 3 base options. It will get hotter. It will get colder. It will stay the same.
Right.
If you're predicting the weather, you're saying, hey, I'm going to predict what temperature it's going to be at what time, the precipitation. You're predicting more variables.
There's a bunch of stuff.
All you're predicting with climate change is it's going to get hotter.
Yeah.
Well, it's been getting hotter for 100 years. Why wouldn't it be getting hotter tomorrow too, or next month, and next year?
It's easy to tell what getting hotter does to the rest of the world.
Right.
Like that's easy to see. And we see it happening throughout the entire world.
Well, it's like, what causes hurricanes? Well, warm weather, warm water. Oh, well, if the water warms up, we'll probably have more hurricanes. Story at fucking duh.
I want to read this quote. Quote, people are entitled to their opinions, but science and climate modeling isn't about opinion. If you are not well informed about how something is done, then it's not right to make comments about it on a large platform, end quote. And I think, Tom, we should talk for a second about the size of this platform, because I think this is a really important thing that people seem to miss.
Yeah, so I looked it up the other day. Joe Rogan is 11 million listeners. Fox News is 2.4 million viewers. There's this bullshit, and it is bullshit, and we need to put it to bed. There is this bullshit idea that there is a thing called mainstream media.
Yeah.
And that's bad. And we don't like mainstream media. The lame stream. Fuck you. Joe Rogan is more mainstream than Fox. And Fox is the most watched TV news, period.
Yeah.
That's it. It's Fox.
Yeah.
He is 400 and change times. He is crazy more people. He reaches crazy more people than Fox News. 11 million people to 2.4 million people.
Yeah.
He's got $100 million corporate sponsor, but he's somehow independent.
Yeah.
How the fuck are you independent when you have $100 million corporate sponsor? You're someone's bitch.
Yeah.
Just like, if the criticism, and it's legit, if the criticism is that, all media has to answer at the end of the day to the advertisers and the revenue that the advertisers
or the
bring
owners,
in, right?
like in the case of the Washington Post, right? Where people rightfully criticize the Washington Post, who would never print anything bad about Jeff Bezos ever.
Right. They can't.
Everything is glowing about Jeff Bezos.
Absolutely. Because fucking Amazon owns their shit.
Amazon owns it.
Yep. So that's a legitimate criticism of media, is to look and say, who holds the purse strings?
Sure.
Well, fucking somebody's holding Joe Rogan's purse strings, and they're huge, heavy purse strings.
Yeah.
And he's How is he not mainstream? He reaches 11 million motherfucking people.
Show me the network news guy that gets $100 million contract.
Right.
Show me that guy.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there is one. I can't think of
No.
one. I can't think of somebody so popular that they're, maybe somebody's breaking a couple million.
Right.
Maybe some really, like maybe Bill O'Reilly in his heyday, or maybe Rush Limbaugh was breaking a couple million when they, when Rush was still alive. But man, $100 million? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like that's a lottery winning, man.
Yep.
That's so much money that that's more than fucking like really high level athletes make in like the sports arena. And the sports is
bonkers money.
Unbelievable money.
Yeah. It's bonkers
crazy.
money.
And, we were talking earlier, and I think this is an important point to bring up. All the things that protect us from media, all the ways in which we have to point out that media is doing the wrong thing, and all the sort of safeguards we have, he doesn't have any of those.
None.
He's just a guy asking, just a dude. He's literally us. He's a guy with a microphone.
Yep.
That's it. That's the only thing that is an inhibition to him at all is that he had to buy his own equipment.
Yep. Yeah. And when you have real, actual fucking journalism, right? You have real, actual journalists who are going to do that work. And those people can get fired if they do a bad job because they have bosses that they report to and there are prizes, big ones called like the Pulitzer that a lot of these guys would love to win. And they did a crazy thing called going to fucking school to learn how to do that job. All of that is gone. Yeah. All of that. All those safeguards. The desire for a paper, for example, to remain credible, and as a result, to print retractions when they make mistakes, and to hold sometimes their own stories' feet to the fire when those mistakes are made.
Sure.
You've seen this. You've seen it. Quality journalism has oftentimes said, we done fucked. We're the ones. Yep. We fucked up. Science does this, right? Who finds out a scientific study is bad? Other scientists do it.
Yep.
It's always others. So it's other journalists but these fucking, like this idea that you're going to get better information from people who are uneducated in the process of delivering journalism to you, uneducated in the process of asking good questions, uneducated in the process of demanding quality answers,
right?
Uneducated in any of the ethics around journalism. They're going to give you a better answer. They don't have any of the fucking resources to spend going out and doing anything. They Google shit. It's fucking Alex Jones with his fucking internet printouts all over his desk.
It's literally, listen to his show. Hey, Jamie, Google that. I mean, it's a fucking
12-second fact checks.
Anybody can do this.
Yes.
Anybody can do what he's doing, right?
Yep.
Anybody can do it. And there's no pressure from anybody else. There's nobody there that would be like, you really fucked this up. You got to leave. That's the end of this. This show is canceled. Yep. Whatever.
Because all that shit is built for entertainment, man. It's built for the lulz.
There's no safeguards though with Rogan, and Rogan has more viewership and less things holding him back. And I think that it's a real dangerous cocktail. It's really dangerous. And he has every day, he came out earlier this week, we did it for the first story we did, made mention of it, but he came out and said, I'm going to try to be better. And then 24 hours later wasn't better.
Yep.
He's not going to be better. There's no pressure for him to be better.
Yeah. I thought about this the other day. It's kind of the Daily Show problem. The Daily Show is an entertainment show, right? They're a comedy show, but they were a comedy show that mixed comedy with news stories with kind of this like comedic analysis.
Sure.
And after a while, what happened with The Daily Show is people were getting polled and they were saying, where do you get your news? And people were saying The Daily Show. A lot of people were getting their news from The Daily Show. That's a fucking problem.
Yeah.
That's not a good news source. Joe Rogan would tell you he's an entertainment show. He's not a journalist.
Yeah.
He will tell you, I am a guy, I'm just here to have entertaining conversations with guests. That's fine. Except for that, if you ask people, where do you get your information from?
Yeah.
We covered this last week. People cite the Joe Rogan show
podcast,
as a place that they get information about their world.
Yep.
So he might say, hey, man, it's just entertainment. But if people see it as more than entertainment, if they see it as a legitimate way to understand their world, there's a conflict there.
Yeah.
It's the Daily Show problem.
Yeah.
It's a bad way to get information.
You should always get your information from information sites, not from social media, from those information sites. You should make an effort to go to those information sites. And then if you want to hear commentary about your news, hear commentary about your news. That's totally fine. But be informed. Be informed first, and then get your commentary about your news.
How many times has this happened to you? You try searching the internet for kinky Valentine's Day offers, but end up finding family members' OnlyFans?
Mom?
Not only is your Valentine's Day ending up the same, but you're lonely, hungry, and full of shame.
I wouldn't characterize it like that.
It's time to get rid of those limp, used, and potentially explosive sex toys in your dresser drawer.
Wait, what's explosive?
Well, with AdamandEve.com, you can not only save time and money, you get something sweet for your honey.
Wow, that's great. Now, you mentioned explosive.
And now by using code GLORY, when you select almost any one item, you'll get 50% off. That's 100% value for half the price.
Wow, how could this deal get any better?
But wait, you'll also get a free Valentine's Day lovers kit that includes not only one, not only two, but 3 items for your pleasure.
I like pleasure.
And what's better than a free movie?
2 free movies?
Not quite.
3.
Almost there.
4.
Keep going.
5.
Getting closer.
7.
No.
Oh.
6 free movies for your viewing pleasure.
That is more than one.
And as an added bonus, free shipping.
Wow, that's a lot of stuff.
Let's hear from a satisfied customer.
You know, before I went to AdamandEve.com, I used to search the bargain bin at the local pawn shop for Valentine's Day lingerie gifts. But now when I use offer code GLORY, I get high-quality sex toys that no longer have signs of use.
And you'll keep your family safe from potentially explosive sex toys.
Yeah. Is that a thing?
To order, head on over to AdamandEve.com and be sure to use code GLORY. That's GLORY, GLORY, because without it, there will be no free Valentine's Day stuff. Or use our handy-dandy QR code on the screen now.
Great.
For audio listeners, feel free to draw the QR code as follows.
Okay, let me find a pen.
It's a big square followed with a smaller square in the middle.
I gotta find a pen.
Dot, line, a rough drawing of a dog crying out out of its enlarged right eye.
Okay.
Dot,
right.
Another dot, and another large square with a small square inside in the top right. Then a Lone Runner character running from Jaws from James Bond with a beard is looking in the wrong direction towards a man in a one-armed four-arm plane who's being rained on by a sheep. All of that on top of a space squid that exploded with another square inside of a square at the bottom left.
Right.
That's Glory at AdamandEve.com. Call now.
Wait, there's a phone number?
Or go to the website.
Oh, and use code GLORY. And where did we land on the explosive? No? Oh. And we're back making new memories in a new world. I found the best way to hold on to those memories is by turning them into art that lasts forever from paintyourlife.com. Now that we can get out and travel and take vacations, we want to celebrate some of our favorite times by turning our new memories into art. Or better yet, stay your ass at home and lie about all the places you've been. Unless you're in Florida, in which case, get out while you still can. When I heard about paintyourlife.com, I thought, what a great idea for birthdays, anniversaries, weddings. But I figured it must be expensive. Not so. These paintings are not only quality, but they're affordable. If you want to give a truly meaningful gift, you've got to try paintyourlife.com. Get a professional hand-painted portrait created from any photo at a truly affordable price, or combine photos of people or places you love into one painting. Choose from a team of world-class artists and work with them until every detail is perfect. User-friendly platform makes it easy to order a custom-made hand-painted portrait in less than 5 minutes. And boy howdy, is it fast! You can receive your hand-painted portrait in as little as 2 weeks. Talk conversationally about your experience and/or finished product you received. I was blown away by the quality of this painting. This artist really captured the essence of my XXX. Wait, no, I don't want people to know I have a painting of my... paintyourlife.com, there's no risks. If you don't love the final painting, your money is refunded. Guaranteed. And right now, as a limited time offer, get 20% off your painting. That's right, 20% off and free shipping. To get this special offer, text the word cognitive to 64,000. That's cognitive to 64,000. Text cognitive to 64,000. Paint your life. Celebrate the moment that matter most. Message and data rates may apply. Terms apply. Available at paintyourlife.com/terms. Again, text cognitive to 64,000.
What is that, a stingray that looks like that?
Yeah, you found a stingray.
He's putting off energy of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 80, wow, 90, 100, 150, 60, 70, 80, 181, 2, 3. Whoa.
What are you doing right now?
I'm actually counting the energy that's coming off of him. His
From
energy.
the dead stingray.
His energy. is 180.
180 what? Energy units.
It's a current. It's just a current.
Okay, great. So we found a stingray. What about water?
Jesus Christ. This story comes from WBIR.com. WBIR. The human remains locator. Forensic investigators develop tools they say can find bodies.
Yeah.
Well, hey, man.
That sounds amazing, Tom.
Yeah, well, yeah. Forensic investigators also use bite marks and other bullshit. So, like, why not this?
Why not this, right?
Why not?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to read some of this, guys. Tell me if you hear any red flags.
If you do, we'll plant them in the ground by the bodies.
That's where the bodies are. An East Tennessee inventor said his new device may help forensic investigators do the hardest part of their jobs, finding more bones.
Caliente.
He said that the device, it's just 2 blue pills. He said that the device can find boners.
This thing is just sticking right up out of the ground. The rest of it's buried, but this one piece is just sticking right up.
It's like a mushroom. Just look for the mushroom. He said that the device can find bones buried in unmarked graves, even if those remains are centuries old. I laughed when I read that because I thought, like, yeah, man, the ones that are buried by the marked graves are already pretty fucking easy to find.
We know.
Hey, here's one.
Hey, somebody put a big thing in front of this one.
This job's so easy.
Oh my God! You know what it tells me when it was put in the ground. That's amazing. This new device is outstanding.
Some guy's holding a fucking tomb to his head like fucking Karnak. Just
He's got it spun around, so he's trying to guess. Yeah. And they're like, no, higher, warmer.
Okay. Is it a boy? It's a man. It's a man. Let me see what I'm getting. Born 18 something, 19 something.
19, I know, 100 years.
Art Bohannon, a forensic investigator who created the device, gave it a simple name. The human remains locator.
That's a good name, though.
God,
you want to make sure it's descriptive in the title when you put your U.S. patent out.
What would be a better name for it? Like, it needs something like ShamWow has a good name.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
It needs to be like Corpse Wow.
Corpse Wow. You pick it up and you wring out a corpse. It sucks it up right out of the ground. You just wring it out.
How fucking baller would this infomercial be?
God,
you got to get that screamy guy that like bit the prostitute or whatever.
Yeah, that guy was like,
you remember that horrible guy?
Like, you're gonna love my nuts.
Yeah, he was a slap chop guy too.
Slap chop?
Yeah,
he's a ShamWow guy. There's another guy who screams at you. He's like telling you about the boat that he cut in half.
Yes. Oh, you could do this like the old Ronco ones where somebody's like walking around like just digging in random spots. There's like all these like spots and he's like, there's got to be a better way.
And then this guy he rolls this fucking magic 8-ball over the graves and he's like, just set it and forget it.
He showed it off on one of Knoxville's oldest cemeteries, combing through the brush to find bones deep beneath his feet. He's in a cemetery. He's demonstrating it at a cemetery.
That's like, isn't it like fishing in a stocked lake?
Right. Holy shit. Well, I bet he'll find bones.
I went hunting down at the stockyards.
Right.
I couldn't
got
miss.
Them all.
Couldn't miss.
This place is full of them.
I was shooting off the hip.
The device uses, and I love this word, technology, similar to how dowsing rods are meant to work, responding with swinging oscillations whenever it is pointed in the direction of an unmarked grave. There's nothing over here between them, but when you move it back over here, it's an instant response, says Bohannon while combing through the cemetery.
You know, I'm getting a correlation between these stones sticking up out of the ground. What a fucking asshole.
This is amazing, guys. He also said a second orb-like tool that hangs from a fishing line can help him determine whether remains are male or female. It's a fucking magic 8-ball.
Oh, please say it goes pink or blue. Oh, that'd be amazing.
This is a crazy gender reveal.
Or it starts a forest fire. Like every time he finds out it's a girl, he just burn half the coast.
What I want is a fucking corpse locator that whenever it finds one, it says outlook not so good.
I want the one that says you'll get lucky.
If the orb moves clockwise, the remains are female. If it moves counterclockwise, they're male, he said.
Yeah.
The size of the circular movement helps determine the age of the remains.
It'll move counterclockwise if you're in Australia.
Critics dismiss dowsing and related practices as quackery that can mislead the public and build false hopes for families trying to lead loved ones. Because there's nothing to it.
Oh, and it's so
there
cruel.
never has been.
And it's so cruel.
Yeah.
And it's the cruelest. It's one of the cruelest scams out there.
Yep.
You know, we talk about like Sylvia Brown and people like that who made all of their money off of bilking like people that are just in absolute pain and in living a nonstop tragedy, right? Their life is a nonstop tragedy because someone died close to them or someone went missing close to them. And they will just lie, like Sylvia Brown would just lie straight to him. This guy isn't doing anything. He's swinging a fucking pendulum. He's not doing anything. He's literally making it up as he goes along. And he's gonna lie to somebody. At least this guy, though, like you could dig a little and be like, hey man, I didn't find anything.
Yeah, I know.
But it might be one of those things where he's like, yeah, but he's under there. He's there. But
just keep digging.
You just got to keep going.
You just got it. When you hit the center of the earth, turn left.
What is this, Minecraft? You find a diamond in there or something?
Holy shit, he's in the fucking ender shit or whatever's down there. I fucking forgot.
I don't know what it's called.
There's like a secret world or like a underworld or some shit.
I don't know. I don't know anything. I don't
know.
It looks so bad. It looks like such a bad video game.
I'm too stupid to play Minecraft. I'm genuinely not smart enough to play Minecraft. I remember when my son got Minecraft when he was 6 or 7, somewhere around there. And I remember taking a look at it. And I'm like, well, what's the point of it? And he's like, there's no point to it. And I'm like, why would I do it? I don't know. He's like, you could do anything you want. I'm like, I can do anything I want in the real world.
Yeah, I can already do that now.
Right? Like, I understand a video game because it's like, it has a purpose. You know, you got it. And generally the purpose is the same thing. You got to get the key and kill the guy.
Yeah, right.
And it might not be in that order.
Sure.
But it's typically one of those.
Yeah.
But Minecraft is like, well, you just wander around and then you dig sometimes. And it's like, fucking, what? I own a shovel. I'm a grown-ass man.
Yeah, there's a type of genre, though, that
the sandbox,
the sandbox genre that came out because of that.
Yeah.
It's like,
and you just wander and explore and all that.
And there are loosely based stories on those. Like for instance, like Subnautica is a sandbox game, but there is a story that you could follow if you wanted to. You could follow that story, or you could just play in the sandbox. Yeah. And those are your options, right? The same thing for like Astroneer and other stuff. There are all these games out there where there is a loose story that you could follow if you want, or you could just build a fun base, so that's fun for some people. And it's like Legos, right? It's like Legos, but it's like, And
I'm not shitting on it. I'm shitting on me. I'm not smart enough.
It's just not your thing.
Because I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And like, do whatever you want. I'm like, but I don't know. You tell me what to do. There are some parts of my life where I'll just raise my hand and say, I'm fucking stupid. And I like to be told what to do. Like, I go to the gym, I want someone to tell me what to do. If I go to the gym by myself, I look around perplexed. I dick around for 45 minutes, accomplish virtually nothing, and go home like, it's pointless. Yeah. It's absolutely pointless. If I go to the gym and there's a trainer, I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm your guy.
Yeah.
Video game is the same thing. It's like, follow me to the next level. Like, yeah, follow you. Like, I got it, bro. Fucking, it's like, what do we do now? Just play.
Whatever you
and I'm
want.
just like, my brain shuts off and I get a little panicky.
Yeah,
I can't
If there's a sandbox, though, this guy is going to wave a fucking pendulum over it. See if there's a body in there.
Right?
Yeah.
This would be, like the dowsing thing. If you're looking for water, those dowsing guys with water, they get the benefit of the doubt because if you just keep digging, you often find water.
Yeah,
it's just kind of under us.
Right.
But like you were saying before, this guy, like, is his backyard where he tested this just full of bodies? Did he buy like a weird serial killer house?
He went to the cemetery to do it. So,
but like when he was like presumably Cecil testing his prototype.
Well, he had to kill somebody first, Tom, and then you got to put him in the ground. That's how.
Well,
I got to make sure it works. And it's funny because this guy in this article at the end is like, yeah, well, it's hard to get a U.S. patent for things that don't work. And I'm just like, they fucking patented that fucking ghost box, that thing that like
patents
it's bullshit. It can be bullshit, and you could still get a patent for it.
Yeah, and that's not the fucking. You don't show up to the patent office and demonstrate like it's fucking Shark Tank. That's not how that fucking works. You have to fucking Mark Cuban like deciding whether or not to give you a fucking patent or not. Get the fuck out of here.
This guy should go on Shark Tank. Oh my God. Because then they'd have to blindfold him. They have to have a body. They'd have to blindfold him. Then they have to have a bunch of bodies in a glass case that he'd have to see. That would be so much fun.
Do you think he can find a live body that's buried? Like, what if you like...
He's got a time limit, too.
Right.
Like that movie where the guy's stuck in the thing.
Or like, what if like David Blaine is doing like some trick and you accidentally dig him up early or some shit? He's all mad about it.
He's super mad, but he's David Blaine, so he's not really mad. He's just sort of a little peeved, and you can't really tell. Okay, guys, we were going to move on from this story. We were just going to walk away from this story without doing our due diligence as journalists.
Outrageous. Hey, man, we're just asking questions.
We're just asking questions. So we're gonna play this because this is a video, so amazing.
Guys.
We didn't realize there was a video.
I feel like Alexander Graham Bell when he had 2 tin cans and a string. We proved it works.
Alexander Graham Bell didn't invent the tin can string phone.
He did though with 2 Campbells, and then it was Alexander Graham Bell, and then it was Edison, and they were in their separate tree houses, Tom.
Now I feel stupid.
You should feel stupid.
I thought that was stupid. Campbell's.
Here we go.
Campbell's cup of phone.
Mom, could you eat your soup faster? I'm waiting for a call. My girlfriend's supposed to call me, Mom.
I'll call you after dinner when the soup cans are ready.
Soup cans.
I feel like Alexander Graham. You guys also
you have to see this.
This video
is amazing.
This guy looks exactly how he sounds too.
Yeah.
Like he kind of looks like my grandpa. And like, I loved my grandpa. My grandpa never said a true thing in his entire life.
Yeah.
My grandpa was the biggest storytellingest motherfucker on the planet. On the planet.
There's a great Twilight Zone where this like storyteller just tells stories all the time. Everybody asks him stuff and he'll just tell like the most outrageous story to them. They'll say, oh, you hear about this new weather thing? He's like, well, I used to be a weatherman at this college. Yeah. And he's like talking, and then he gets picked up by aliens who think he's the smartest guy in the world because he's been talking and they've been monitoring conversations and he's clearly like the smartest guy in the world.
Right.
And then he's basically like, I'm a giant liar. And then they set him down and leave embarrassed.
I only realized as an adult that I don't know anything about my grandfather because like none of his
lied
story,
the whole time.
He just made up all these stories.
That's amazing.
And you're like, some of them may be true.
Sure, yeah.
But then like they can't all be true.
Yeah.
So you're like, I don't really know anything about that guy.
I know what he told me. And that might not be real.
Yeah.
God, this thing looks hilarious. It looks like somebody put a spring on a funnel that you put oil into your car.
Yes. And it's just got random wires and alligator clips and shit sticking off of it.
Looks ridiculous.
It's like an orgone generator.
Yeah, oh God, orgone generator. That's my thing. Got it. If I could quit my job and be an orgone salesman, the money you can make from sticking just wires in a bar of soap.
One East Tennessee inventor says a new device promises to
This is the dumbest looking thing you ever saw, guys.
It's serious. Okay, so it is literally 2 springy dowsing rods.
They look like car antennas from like a 1987 fucking limo.
They look like, one of those old limos that had like a cell phone back in the day, like with the little curly antenna. It's 2 of them, and they're driven into like a wooden handle, and they're kind of one's at an angle and one straight ahead. And this thing really just all it does is it moves because someone is holding it.
Yes.
Right? So just like a Ouija board would move if somebody's holding and touching the planchette. I think that's what they call it.
Yep.
It's not Kate Planchette. It's someone, but
this thing, you could recreate this thing with 2 wiggly dildos.
You totally could.
You could.
God, that'd be amazing. And if you want to recreate it with 2 wiggly dildos, you can go to adamandeve.com, get 50% off almost any item. And they're doing like a Valentine's thing, but I'm not sure.
They are doing a Valentine's
thing. Listen to the commercial. Listen to the commercial. Yep. Ian will tell you what they're doing.
Revolutionize how investigators uncover human remains. 2 forensic.
Why did they give this guy news time? Why is this guy on the news?
I have no idea.
He's just like a fucking random dude walking through the woods with fucking 2 springy things.
He's also an old guy walking through the woods, so they have footage now of him taking these very tentative old man
tentative steps
through the woods.
You don't want to slip and break your hip.
Forensic experts say their new devices can find bones buried in unmarked graves that are in some cases.
Okay, so this guy he's literally standing over a grave. Here, guys, I don't need he's got a string, like a string and a glass ball that he's spinning around. I don't need that at all. I will tell you, there's a body there. I don't need anybody else. There's a gravestone, man.
It's also like his little orb on a string. It looks like a cheap science fair project.
Yeah.
It looks like this is his grandson's model of Saturn. And he just like took it off of the fucking diorama.
Okay.
That's all that it looks like.
One of these ladies is his wife, right? That's standing there. Do you think she really believes it, or she's just there to support him?
Man, she's like, fucking whatever. He's tinkering in the garage. It makes him happy.
It makes him happy. We don't.
He stays out of my begonias,
though.
you know?
He's on TV though now, spinning his little thing around.
Case is centuries old. 10 News reporter Cole Sullivan shows us those new devices in action.
In one of Knoxville's oldest cemeteries.
Here's one.
Renowned.
Are you fucking kidding me, Tom?
Yeah, well, okay.
He's in the middle of a cemetery.
He's walking through a field in the middle of the cemetery.
Yeah, there's graves over here on the left of him. You can see him.
But he says, here's one, unless the next thing is that they dig up a body.
Right.
I don't know if there's one there or not.
Right,
See, so watch this. Here's one.
Yeah.
Wait, maybe I lied about that.
Who knows, right?
You don't fucking
Nobody's
know.
bringing an excavator.
Right. Hey, everybody listening, look down. There's one.
Yeah. Hey, Alexa, there's one.
Forensic expert Art Bohannon looks for unmarked graves.
There's one right there, too.
He uses a homemade device with dowsing rod technology and a simple name, the Human Remains Locator.
See, this just has nothing over here between them.
Okay.
Well, when you move it back over here, it's instant response.
Okay,
he's clearly wiggling it too.
Now he's got a different tool. So this is
many
different. So the first tool he had was like a ball on a string. It was like a glass ball on a string that he was spinning sideways. Now he's got another tool, and it looks like a fork that's been split up a bunch of times. And so it's like a spike that has several spikes that sort of come off of it.
Have you ever gone to the camping store and gotten one of those things that lets you roast like 6 marshmallows at once?
It kind of looks like that.
This looks like a 6 marshmarshmallow roaster.
Now it's spinning, but again, we can't see his grip on it. You can't see how he's holding it. All you can see is the bottom of it. They're like selectively, this news organization is selectively showing bad shots.
Yes, right. Also, like anything on a swivel will swivel.
Yeah.
That's why they're swivels.
He says a second tool hanging from a fishing line can determine whether a body is male or female.
Strong male, wasn't it?
It turns clockwise for a man, counterclockwise for a woman. The size of the circle
determines the size of the cock. He's Irish. It's barely moving at all.
Look at this thing. He's got a long black cock right here.
Determines the age.
You didn't make it work. I didn't make it work. It's picking up the energy from the ground.
He's using antenna to determine or find or locate that electric field that's associated with bone.
What the fuck are you talking about?
What electric field associated with bones?
Why don't we harness this electric field? Why don't we just have like little fucking air generators everywhere over fucking dead bodies?
Literally everything dies and turns to bones. Every fucking living thing dies into every vertebrate, at least.
Yeah.
Dies and turns. Why don't we just use all these things? What are you talking? You would get fucking electrocuted. Remember those pictures where, like, have you ever seen those pictures in the history books of like huge fucking pyramids of fucking buffalo bones?
Yeah.
Dude, that shit would be like fucking shooting lightning out of it.
Be like a Tesla coil.
Right.
Be like shooting out
Your
of it.
hair would stand out if you were 100 feet from it.
When I was in the Czech Republic, Sarah and I went to a place called Kutna Hora. We went to the Costas Ossuary, I think it's called, and it's a fucking bone church. I would have walked in and my hair would have been sticking straight on end.
Holy shit, my fucking watch doesn't work in here.
Get the fuck out of here.
Get out of here, fucking electric field bone
here's the thing,
bullshit.
Man, that's a testable claim.
Right.
Show me your research. That's a testable claim.
So yeah, go to the fucking store, buy a fucking 1999 multimeter.
Yeah.
You know? And just press it on bones.
Yeah, see what
Nothing's gonna happen.
See what happens.
Forensic anthropologist Arpad Voss has his own patented device, which tracks residents' frequency waves, in this case, from a piece of bone.
You know, you're out doing a search, nothing's happening, nothing's happening, nothing's happening. All of a sudden it begins oscillating.
He says the quantum oscillator works over...
Okay. The quantum oscillator,
Here's what we're viewing. This guy has this dumb little thing that we explained earlier with the two springy things, and he's clearly depressing something right now that is making it spin back and forth.
Yeah.
Right? So like what he's got is the top piece is now, as he says, oscillating. So the top spring is sort of swinging back and forth when he pointed it at the bone. But he's clearly got his hands on this thing in some way that probably depresses something that allows it to swing back and forth.
Yeah, the bottom one is fixed. The top one is on a fucking swivel. Also, if you just want that to swivel, you could just position your wrist and it will just swivel.
Yeah.
That's how unstable things work. They move.
Great distances.
Best I've done is about 75 miles.
And can track specific.
How on earth? How the fuck does that even work? 75 miles.
So what does that even mean? That means that between you and this thing, there were no other intervening dead bodies.
Yeah.
So there's not another. I don't think that there's any place, unless deeply rural America, where within 75 miles there's not a graveyard.
There's not a graveyard. Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, and that's the thing is like, okay,
that's the dumbest thing I ever heard.
They're literally letting this person talk on television.
Right.
Is there going to be a single person who's going to say anything bad about this?
No.
Specific people using samples of their DNA.
All the doubters out there, they can doubt all they want. I mean, go get a patent. See how hard that is.
There's one.
Bohannon plans to file for one soon.
Just mark it.
Potentially adding future tools to the toolbox to find bodies from the past. Reporting from Knoxville, I'm Cole Sullivan.
Both inventors say they hope their devices can revolutionize forensics. For now, they're still working to fine-tune them.
To make them work at all.
Are you fucking serious? That aired on a fucking on television.
Yep.
That fucking aired on television, and there was not a single person in there that came in and was like, "That's all bullshit."
Yep. Literally can't happen.
That's literally lying. They're lying to you.
There is no mechanism by which this could possibly work.
Literally zero. It's unbelievable that got play on I mean, I'm blown away.
I wish
by
it was
that.
unbelievable. I believe this so much. I believe it so much, Cecil, because the news is like, yeah, whatever, it's cool. Like it's fun, it's fun, it's quirky. Like we'll just put it up there, and there's no ability. We're not going to test and see if it's real or not real. They just need to fill 6 minutes of time.
That's what they did. Yeah,
that's it, man.
Yeah. Wow. That is terrifying.
There are people that because this is on the news, that's why they'll believe it.
They'll believe it.
Just like that guy saying, look, man, it's hard to get a patent, so it wouldn't be true if I didn't get a patent. There's going to be people like, look, if it weren't true, it wouldn't be on the news.
You know what's crazy is like all the shows on like the Travel Channel and Discovery America that are ghost shows, they're presented as if they're documentaries. They're presented in a way that make you think that they're real.
Yeah.
And this just lends credence to garbage like that.
Yep. Absolutely.
That is appalling that they would put something like that on the news.
Yep.
What sucks, Tom, is like we spent this time earlier in the episode talking about how there's no repercussions for Joe Rogan, right?
Yep.
But this is appalling that this is on a news site, a TV news. I mean, this is a TV news station.
Yeah. This was somebody's local nightly news. This was just a 2.5 minute clip from somebody's local nightly news. And it's complete bullshit. The problem, though, Cecil, is that this story as a story isn't bullshit. It is a story about bullshit presented as truth.
Yeah.
And that's some shit to wade through, man.
Yeah.
That's some real shit to wade through.
Yeah.
If you're a journalist, you wouldn't get in trouble for telling this story because you didn't say anything that wasn't.
Yeah. No, you're just telling you're telling what they're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he said, I didn't say it was true.
Yeah.
He said he invented it. He said this is how it works.
Yeah.
The thing is that we have to have a responsibility to be skeptical for this shit. Don't we have some? Why is there not somebody saying, look, it's not how fucking science works. Here's a fucking scientician,
I can't believe
what the fuck?
I can't believe you can air something like this and get away with it as if it's news.
Yeah, you asked me just a second ago, like, what can we do something about this? Like, I don't think there's any reporting body. I don't know that there is. Maybe there is. Listeners, if you know if there is, let us know. Like, is there anybody that you can go to when this shit happens? Because I don't know that there is, man.
I don't know that there is either. And,
but there should be.
Part of me thinks that there should be. If you're putting blatantly false things out there, there should be somebody there to say, holy shit, you can't do that.
Right. It would be great to have a news story about this news story. Right? Look at this fucking W. Burr.
Yeah.
Look how fucking irresponsible their fucking journalism is.
Absolutely.
Dowsing is bullshit, but even the bigger story here is you didn't do dick all to vet this as a real thing.
To talk about it at all. You didn't put, and you know, the worst part is you gave these guys their entire time to talk and treated it like it was 100% true without any other side. Right? We talk about the news very often doing a really bad thing where they do these two sides thing where there's two sides on everything and it always feels like they're equal. In this case, they didn't even do their due diligence to even give you a counter voice.
Right, and they chose the bullshit side.
Yeah, they chose the bullshit
side.
They
chose the side that is just obviously and demonstrably untrue.
Yeah.
That defies every known law of physics.
God, it's unbelievable.
Fuck.
I've got to come clean. I had no idea I would get this far, but the fact of the matter is, I should not be president. Okay? I will this country up beyond repair. I am a sick, angry little man. Please, if you care at all about the future of our country, vote for her, okay? She's the one who at least has some experience. She's not as bad as you think, I promise. And unlike me, she's actually capable of running this country.
My opponent is a liar and he cannot be trusted. No!
Oh my God, she is such a turd sandwich.
Man, so this has just been all over the news this week. There's a bunch of stories about it. So more shit keeps blowing up. Trump in a fucking interview again says the quiet part out loud. Yeah, so Trump admits that he wanted Pence to steal the election. What he said Mike Pence had the authority to, in his words, overturn the election. Election. Yeah. And he failed to do it. There's an acknowledgement in those words that what he wasn't trying to do was make sure that the election was accurate. Right? Yep. What he's been selling to everybody is that there was a fraud, that the result of the election was not accurate.
Right.
But that's bullshit, because all the stuff that's coming out now shows very much that this was never about, and everybody knew this, but it's like you need the evidence you can know it, but you need the evidence. And he's fucking saying it out loud now. He's saying, look, Pence could have just unilaterally, and he couldn't have, but Trump's a fucking idiot and doesn't understand how shit works. Pence could have just unilaterally chosen to overthrow or overturn the election. Yeah. And he didn't do it. And you're like, dude, overturning elections is a coup.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And we wound up very close to losing in so many different ways. One of the ways that they talked about this was this week I listened to The Daily when they talked about this big bombshell that dropped about Trump because the New York Times broke a story. And the story essentially goes like this. A colonel that was sort of vaguely related to Flynn in some way had this idea that China stole our election through these voting machines. And so he convinced that Sidney Powell and, Flynn to take this to the president. And the president immediately grabbed onto it because what he wanted was something that could confirm his biases, right?
Any flimsy excuse.
Any way he could confirm that he was actually the winner. And so he glommed onto this. He reached out to Bill Barr immediately. Is there any way we can have the Justice Department seize these voting machines? And Bill Barr said, no, we can't do. We're not going to do that. They reached out to the Department of Homeland Security. No, we're not going to do that. They reached out to the Pentagon. No, we're not going to send soldiers in to do that. He tried 3 different places to do it. The way they got it in front of him, too, in this story is so crazy. If you listen to The Daily, the way they get it in front of him is Flynn goes on Newsmax to talk about it because he knows that Trump is going to watch Newsmax. That's fucking Dr. Strangelove crazy,
dude,
Tom.
It is.
That is Dr. Strangelove crazy. And it happened less than a year ago.
Yeah. And
no, more than a year ago, but still, you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's the exact way to put it. It is Flynn can't even go to him directly. He has to send this fucking message using this puppet news organization.
That it's gonna wield more weight,
right,
with Trump if he sees it on the TV versus looking the person in the face.
Fucking
that's
hell,
terrifying.
Man. That is terrifying. The other thing that's crazy, and I can't believe I'm going to say this out loud, but one of the lines that stood between us and madness at one point was Rudy Giuliani. Can you believe this shit?
Yeah, Rudy Giuliani actually said no to part of this.
Yeah, Rudy Giuliani was in a room, just let this wash over you guys, was in a room being the voice of reason at one point. during this madness. During the same time period, guys, where fucking shoe polish was dripping into his eyes,
Yeah,
and he was having his Four Seasons total meltdown.
Landscaping. Still the best thing.
Fucking hell. That Rudy Giuliani, that guy at one point was in a room where everyone was crazier than him.
Where he was the voice of reason.
Right.
Where he was the conscience of America.
Yes. Holy fuck.
That's fucking terrifying. But, here's the thing. Trump wanted this so bad. He wanted to do this so bad. And he wanted to change things so bad so that he could stay president. He did not want to leave office. He was very adamant that he didn't want to leave office, and he tried everything he could to. I hope that there's somebody who turns this over at this point to a criminal investigation.
God, I hope so.
Because that's what the outcome can be from this January 6th thing, is that if they can hand this over to the Justice Department, there could be something that could happen. There could be something that can happen. But we're at this point now where we're over a year after. We're a year out after. They started this 6 months ago or something like that.
Yeah.
And we're just starting to get past some of the court cases. Something's got to happen soon, because at 2022,
this ends.
At the end of this, we're talking 9 months from now. If the Democrats lose the House,
they're going to disband the committee.
They will disband this committee immediately. So that is anti-American, because this is a committee that is looking into fraud, real fraud in our voting, real fraud by the president, committed by the highest authority in the land.
Yep. For his own personal
gain.
interest.
Personal gain.
I mean, imagine a democracy, any democracy in the world, where the military seized the voting machines at the request of the person in power. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
Say it out loud. That's some shit that happens in like fucking third world banana republic bullshit countries that don't have real democracy.
I'm very worried about 2024's election.
Fuck.
Because these people are just, they've been being tuned up for a couple of years.
I know, man.
And
I know.
I mean, I would not be surprised if there's going to be shootings at some of these. I wouldn't be surprised if there was going to be.
You're wrong, man.
I think these people have been poisoning the well so much over this bullshit over the last year that there are people out there where there's a story this week, we're not going to get to it, but there's a story in Michigan where two people that are literally running for two of the highest offices in the land tell people who are in their little tiny, it's the tiniest little room too. It is no shit, like 20 people in this room, but they're being televised, and they tell people two things. One, if you suspect anything wrong going on, unplug the voting machine. And the other guy says, come locked and loaded.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he says like, the one guy's like, the time for pussyfooting around is over, basically. Bring a gun.
This is Michigan.
Holy shit.
Gubernatorial candidate.
Right.
Michigan, and like Secretary of State candidate.
Michigan, this same state where fucking like homebred terrorists hatched a plot to kidnap the fucking governor.
Yeah.
Because they were so tuned up about this shit.
And this is happening all over the country. These people will not denounce it. These high up Republicans will not denounce it. They have made this bed, and this could be a genuine tragedy for democracy in our country, because you have millions of people in this country so tuned up over this perceived slight.
Well, and the fucking Trump keeps pouring gas on the fire.
Yeah.
The only thing that is going to help is this just needs to play out, be done, and die out. People need to go fucking wake up and go back to work and just live their lives and have things kind of return to some semblance of normalcy.
Yeah.
But, part of the problem is that nothing about life feels normal still.
Yeah.
Everything still feels weird and uncertain. And you still got these fucking fire-breathing assholes just constantly just fucking huffing and puffing and making the conflagration worse and worse and worse. I don't know that this goes away. I don't know that it has the time.
Fuck you, suffer in silence, you're a fucking piece of shit, you're no good, and you're a worthless fucking person to humanity. You contribute nothing, go back to your fucking rock that you live under, and never fucking come out again, you worthless piece of shit!
Holy shit, the story's from the Washington Post. Michigan GOP governor candidate said rape victims shouldn't have abortions. And guys, I wish you could see this, because the woman who was in this video next to him, she looks so fucking appalled. Like at one point, she like closes her eyes when he's talking like, I fucking cannot believe I'm here right now.
All right, so let me play this. I'm just going to play this audio.
And I get it. There's a lot of situations out there when you talk about rape and everything else, and hey, maybe they deserve an abortion. We're always going to fight for life. And I have a great personal story of one of my mentors. And he was going through life and he was adopted. So he started to look up his birth family to figure out who they were. And he figured out that his mom was gang raped in a subway train station by 5 guys. And it kind of like tore out his heart when he found that out. But then he started to really appreciate and understand what his birth mother went through, that she had the courage to deliver him. And since then, since he was delivered, he has helped thousands of people be better versions of themselves. And so what we must start to focus on is not only to defend the DNA when it's created, but however, how about we start inspiring women in the culture to let them understand and know how heroic they are and how unbelievable that they are, that God put them in this moment and they don't know that little baby inside them may be the next president, maybe the next person that changes humanity, may get us out of the situation maybe in the future. We don't know that. So that is what we must do, is start to create that culture. And there's already a culture for that. Catholic Charities is a great one, that they help these moms go through and deliver and give these kids up for adoption. I have lots of friends who have adopted kids because they can't have children naturally. And so we must always, always protect that DNA and allow it to have a voice.
You know, what if it was going to be Hitler, though? You know, like, I mean, if it cuts both ways, homeboy. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like your fucking stupid argument of ripping autonomy from women cuts both fucking ways. First off, fucking some dude gets to tell all the women in his state that they can't fucking get an abortion because they've fucking been gang raped or whatever. Yeah. You know, like
that's an inspiring story to this guy.
That's somehow inspiring, but then specifically, it cuts both ways. You know, like if it could be the next Hitler. Yeah. So maybe we played our cards right.
Yeah, well, it's like, holy shit. First of all, bro, I don't give a shit if that person was going to be the next president. I don't care who the next president. If that means that some woman has to be further fucking victimized and traumatized, right. Fuck it. Well, you know what? We'll elect someone else.
Turns out there's going to be somebody else.
It's not like we weren't going to elect somebody because we were going to elect this baby, but it never got born. You fucking asshole. You stupid fucking asshole. You know how many women I want to traumatize? 0 women.
0 women.
Because I'm not a monster.
Yeah, 0 women.
That's a crazy thing to say.
I'm with you, Tom. And then just to be like, yeah, I have this story.
Yeah, man.
Really tragic.
And maybe it happened and maybe it didn't happen. No, I know.
Right? Yeah, right.
But also, like, no one heard of this guy.
Yeah.
I thought about that. As soon as I heard that, I'm like, I never heard about your friend. I've never fucking heard about him. The thing is, like, your friend didn't inspire thousands of people. Fucking nobody knows that guy. Nobody knows him. It's not worth fucking victimizing and traumatizing a woman so that, like, because most people turn into nobody, right? I'll raise my hand. Most of us are fucking nobody. There's like a handful of people in all of history who fucking rise up out of the great teeming, seething masses and become the big somebodies, right?
Yep.
But the rest of us, we're fucking schmucks and we don't need to be here at all.
What's going to happen is 100 years down the road, there's going to be some asshole swinging a pendulum over my grave to tell me if there's bones in it or not.
Look, man, I don't matter. I don't matter. None of it, like almost nobody you've ever met fucking matters at all. If I was never born, the world would look exactly the same.
Very, very similar.
Nothing would change. Yeah. Nothing.
There's a butterfly effect, but there's no Cecil effect.
Right. It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. Like you're basically saying, I don't care what this does to you.
Right.
I don't care what this does to you. You should fucking love this.
Right.
You should love what's happening to you.
Yep.
You're the fucking miracle of creation, and I want you to fucking wallow in it. That's what he's saying.
And also he's suggesting that there is some compensatory price which makes that woman's trauma worth it. I'll give up. Look, maybe it was Van Gogh. I'll burn every Van Gogh on a pyre if it means one woman isn't traumatized and has to fucking give birth to a rape baby she doesn't want to give birth to.
And you know, and they always talk about it as if it's a full-fledged adult.
Yes.
They're just like, yeah, no, and it went to college and it could have been the president. His name was Charlie, you know? And you're just like, yeah, man, it's like fucking 7 cells. And she took a fucking, she didn't even get a procedure because she got raped and she went somewhere and said, I got raped. And they said, here, take this thing. And then she didn't have a baby.
Right.
And nobody knew whether she was fucking pregnant or not. But when your fucking draconian shitty laws come into place, they're like, nope, stick a fucking ultrasound up there and name it fucking Bill because you got to read it a bedtime story before we take it out of you.
Yep. Man, this fucking shit is so unbelievably awful. It is so awful. And it's 100% of the time, it's dudes telling women what they got. It's always dudes.
It's always fucking rarely women. I know there are some.
But it's so rare,
when
man.
It comes to like politicians.
Yes, it's dudes,
there's some, but it's mostly just guys being like, I don't like it.
Right. Yeah. Well, you know what? You're not getting raped by 5 dudes on the subway, motherfucker.
No kidding.
You know what? Your chances of getting pregnant, pretty much fucking zero. So, like, that's some shit you don't... I think about that shit all the time. It's like, if I don't have to fucking do it, I don't get to fucking talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, and that's true for, like, big things and little things, right? So, like, I have a very low likelihood of being raped and impregnated.
Yeah.
Right? Pretty much that's not happening. So, like, I don't get to... That's not... I don't get to have an opinion. My opinion is, well, what do you think? It could happen to you.
Yeah.
Literally can't happen to me. Like, my job is to shut the fuck up and listen.
Yeah.
Why? I don't understand how that's a hard concept. Shut the fuck up and listen. You have no skin in that game, man.
Yeah.
No skin in that game.
It's a real easy concept. And the problem is that he wants to show you how pro-life he is because he knows that tunes up the voters.
Yes, that's all.
Because he has created a fantasy in which a fucking fetus gets fucking shot out like a t-shirt gun and goes to college while it's in the air and then lands in the White House.
It's like shows up in the air. It's like sculpting shit.
Exactly.
Like fucking Banksying some stuff on the way down.
Paints like 7 Van Goghs.
Right.
Goes to college.
Here.
Writes the quintessential master's thesis. Lands in the fucking Oval Office.
We must burn the books, Montag. All the books.
So normally we would just have a Cogdis Book Club segment here. We were going to be talking about the entire book this week, but we decided to move this conversation to Patreon. So that doesn't mean that only patrons have access. In fact, anybody is going to have access to this. It's going to be an open post to everyone. It's about a few minute segment where Tom and I talk about the entirety of the Demon Hunter world, but also where we talk about the next book we're going to do on Cogdis Book Club. So we would like you, if you want to listen to that portion of the show and you enjoy that portion of the show and you want to have your feedback about that portion of the show, this is something you're going to want to listen to on Patreon. So go to patreon.com/dissonancepod. It should be open to everybody. We will be putting a link in this week's show notes so you can easily get to this bit of audio that is located into another place. We're doing this specifically because we have conversations in this particular part of the show about our choices and what we decided to do and why we decided to do it. And so we didn't know that this long portion of our explanation needed to be in the regular show. So we'd like it if you enjoy this segment or if you want to have some feedback on this segment, go to Patreon, listen to this piece, and hear what we have to say about not only about the book in its entirety, about Demon Hunter World in its entirety, but also what we have planned coming up and what our limitations are. So you're going to want to check that out. Check the show notes for the link or go to patreon.com/dissonancepod, and that post should be available to you. So we'd like to thank our patrons. Of course, we'd like to thank all our patrons, but we'd like to thank our newest patrons, Fred, Lisa, Anthony, Neil, Nicholas, Big Jim, and the people who up their pledges, Nicholas, that 9-fingered lesbian, and Celtic Kitty. Thank you so much for your generous donations.
Thank you.
We really do truly appreciate it. We want to ask some people right now, genuinely want to ask you, if you're a supporter of the show, if you're somebody who has listened for a while, you're not somebody who has been a patron, but you're somebody who supports the show, who enjoys the show, who listens to the show every week. I just want to come out right now and ask you, will you please be a patron of the show? Will you please go to patreon.com right now and just become a patron of the show on a per episode basis? We genuinely do appreciate every single person who goes out of their way to do it. And we want to ask you specifically to do it because you're the person who helps pay salaries of 2 employees and all the bills it takes to run a podcast. We do a live stream every week. That's extra content. We take that live stream and we turn it into audio that we give to patrons. Tom reads his blog that he writes to his boys. Yeah. That goes to patrons. We're going to be, there's a lot of things we'd like to try to do for patrons. And, we try to make sure that the money that comes in, we pay that forward. We donate to charities. We pay people who work for our show a very good wage, and we try to make sure that we make the show easy for us to make. So we subscribe to several services that make that process easier, and your money makes that possible. So we just want to ask you, just come right out and ask. Please become a patron of the show. We'd really much appreciate it. We went really long on the stream this week. So if you missed the stream this week, we did an AMA. A lot of fun. We did wind up switching. Gosh, this Comcast is just driving me nuts. But we did wind up switching midstream. And so maybe the 2 or 3 minutes of it is a little garbled. But it's like an hour and 40 minutes of content. So go to YouTube, go to Twitch. It's going to be up there for a couple weeks on Twitch. You can go to Facebook and you can watch the whole thing. Tom and I just go through a ton of questions. A lot of questions that we got. We tried to answer as many as we could. Just go and check it out. And if you're a patron, you'll get that hour and 40 minutes in your podcast feed. So that's just going to come in your podcast feed. There really wasn't a ton of visuals, so it's a perfect thing to listen to. Yeah. But if you want to, you can go check it out on YouTube, and you can check it out on Facebook. And while you're there, if you're at any of those places, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, be sure to subscribe to the things that we do. That's one of the things that we mentioned in the show. Someone asked us, what is something that people don't do enough that you would like them to do? And Tom and I both said we'd love it if you'd rate us a high rating on the rating of your choice. iTunes is great, but other places, a high rating is wonderful. And then sharing it with your friends, and then also subscribing in the places where you can subscribe helps the show.
Yeah, it makes a difference when you guys interact with us in public spaces. So interact with us in public spaces. If you're listening now, you probably like the show. If you don't, I don't know why you're listening right now.
Why are you still here?
Yeah.
This is the paycheck.
You have other things to do with your time.
Yeah, this is the end of the show.
Hit stop.
Yeah. So we are going to skip email this week. We're going to catch the email next week. We got a ton of email in our email this week that we didn't get a chance to sort through because it's all a lot of questions for the AMA. So we're going to go through that, and we're going to read all the email that we got this last week, this upcoming week. But we want to thank everybody for joining us this time. Go check out those live streams. Check us out next week, 9 p.m. Central. All those places I listed, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And we're going to leave you, like we always do, with the Skeptic's Creed.
Credulity is not a virtue. It's fortune cookie cutter, mommy issue, hypno-Babylon bullshit. Couched in scientician, double bubble, toil and trouble, pseudo quasi alternative, acupunctuating, pressurized, stereogram, pyramidal, free energy healing, watered downward spiral, brain deadpan sales pitch, late night info docutainment. Leo, Pisces, cancer cures, detox, reflex, foot massage, death in towers, tarot cards, psychic healing, crystal balls, Bigfoot, Yeti, aliens, churches, mosques and synagogues, temples, dragons, giant worms, Atlantis, dolphins, truthers, birthers, witches, wizards, vaccine nuts, shaman healers, evangelists, conspiracy, doublespeak, stigmata, nonsense. Expose your sides. Thrust your hands, bloody, evidential, conclusive. Doubt even this.
The opinions and information provided on this podcast are intended for entertainment purposes only. All opinions are solely that of Glory Hole Studios, LLC. Cognitive Dissonance makes no representations as to accuracy, completeness, currentness, suitability, or validity of any information, and will not be liable for any errors, damages, or butthurt arising from consumption. All information is provided on an as-is basis. no refunds. Produced in association with the local Dairy Council and viewers like you.